What if I told you the biggest thing holding you back is not your past, not your circumstances, not other people, but the voice in your own head? The one that says, you are behind, you are not good enough, you always mess things up, you should be further by now, you are not ready. And the strange thing is, most people do not even question that voice. They just live under it. They let it shape their confidence, their choices, their risks, their relationships, their future. But here is what most people do not realize. That voice is not always telling the truth. In fact, a lot of the time, it is doing something else entirely. And once you understand what it is really doing, you stop fearing it, you stop obeying it, and your whole life starts to change. So let us talk about this noise. If another person followed you around all day saying, you are not enough, you are probably going to fail, everyone else is ahead of you, you always ruin things, you would call that toxic, you would call it cruel, you would call it emotional abuse. But when the same words come from your own mind, you call it honesty. Unfortunately, this is not honesty at all. It is the trap that catches most people. People think self-criticism is self-awareness. They think harshness is discipline. They think anxiety is insight. But a lot of the time, it is none of those things. It is just a mental pattern, repeating itself so often that it starts to feel true. And when something feels true long enough, you stop challenging it. You just start building your life around it. You hold back from opportunities. You overthink simple things. You replay awkward moments for hours. You assume people are judging you. You turn one bad day into a story about who you are. And slowly, without even noticing, your thoughts start making your world smaller. Now here's the part that changes everything. Your brain is not designed mainly to make you happy. It is designed to keep you safe. And in your brain's language, safe does not mean joyful. It does not mean fulfilled. It does not mean successful. Safe usually means familiar. That means your brain will often choose a familiar pain over an unfamiliar possibility. Read that again in your mind. A familiar pain over an unfamiliar possibility. That is why people stay stuck in old patterns. That is why they keep doubting themselves. That is why growth can feel so uncomfortable. Because the moment you try to become someone new, your brain treats uncertainty like danger. Not always because something is wrong, but because something is different. And your mind starts speaking up. What if you fail? What if people laugh? What if you embarrass yourself? What if you are not capable? What if this proves you are not enough? It sounds like truth, but it is often just fear trying to keep you predictable. And that brings me to the message I want to reveal later in this video, because this is the part most people miss completely. That voice in your head may not be your enemy. It may be an old protection system, using the wrong method. Hold on to that, because once you understand that properly, you stop trying to destroy the voice, and you start learning how to outgrow it. The mind does not just speak negatively, it distorts. One mistake becomes, I ruin everything. One unanswered message becomes, they must be upset with me. One slow season becomes, my life is going nowhere. One rejection becomes, this proves I am not meant for it. Do you see what is happening? The mind takes moments and turns them into identity. It takes uncertainty and turns it into prediction. It takes emotion and turns it into fact. You feel anxious, so your mind says something must be wrong. You feel behind, so your mind says you are failing. You feel insecure, so your mind says you are not enough. But feelings are not always facts. They are signals. They are sensations. They are experiences. They are not always reliable conclusions. And if you do not learn that, you end up living inside stories your mind created in a moment of fear. So here is the big truth. The voice in your head is not always your identity. It is often a survival pattern, an old pattern, a protective pattern, a fearful pattern, but still, just a pattern. That means you do not have to panic every time it appears. You do not have to believe it. You do not have to obey it. You do not have to build your future around it. You just need to recognize it for what it is, a mental alarm. And sometimes that alarm is useful, but sometimes it goes off because life feels uncertain, and your mind responds as if uncertainty is catastrophe. That does not make you broken. It makes you human. And honestly, that is one of the most freeing things you can realize. Because once you stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" you can start asking, "What pattern am I stuck in?" That question changes everything. So what do you do when that voice shows up? First, pause. Not everything your mind says deserves an instant reaction. Just because a thought appears does not mean it deserves your loyalty. Pause. Notice it. Name it. This is fear. This is self-doubt. This is me assuming the worst. This is me turning discomfort into identity. That one move creates distance, and distance is powerful. Because the moment you stop saying, "This is me," and start saying, "This is what my mind is doing right now," you take some of your power back. Then question it. Is this actually true? Or is this just the harshest version of the story? What is the evidence? What else could be true? What would I say to someone I love if they were thinking like this? You do not need fake positivity. You do not need cheesy affirmations you do not believe. You just need something more honest, more balanced, more grounded. Not, "I am amazing at everything." But maybe, "I am struggling right now, but that does not mean I am incapable." Not, "I will never fail again." But, "I can make mistakes without turning them into my identity." That is where real change begins. But there is one more piece, and this is where most people stop too early. You cannot just think differently. At some point, you have to act differently too, because your behavior teaches your brain what is safe. If your mind says, "Do not post it, people will judge you," and you post it anyway, you teach your brain something new. If your mind says, "Do not apply, you will get rejected," and you apply anyway, you teach your brain something new. If your mind says, "Stay silent, you will sound stupid," and you speak anyway, you teach your brain something new. That is how confidence is built. Not before action, after the moment, after the risk, after the proof that you survived what you were afraid of. And over time, your brain starts learning, this is uncomfortable, but it is not dangerous. That is when the inner voice begins to lose its grip. So if you have been fighting your own mind lately, hear me clearly. You are not weak because you have negative thoughts. You are not failing because you feel fear. You are not broken because your mind sometimes turns against you. You are human. The real shift happens when you stop treating every thought like truth. Because the voice in your head may speak in fear, but that does not mean fear gets to lead your life. Let it speak if it wants to, but do not hand it the steering wheel. Because the moment you stop confusing fear with truth, you stop living like a prisoner of your own mind and start becoming the person that fear was trying to keep small. And that is where freedom begins.